Growing up in the 80s and 90s meant playing with bold, sometimes dangerous toys. They were exciting but often ignored safety concerns, making them unforgettable classics that likely would not be allowed today. Super elastic bubble plastic came in small tubes that promised giant floating bubbles kids could shape by hand. Instead of soap and water, this toy used a thick, colorful plastic that children squeezed onto a tiny straw. Blowing into the straw created balloon-like bubbles that held their shape longer than ordinary ones. The danger, however, came from the strong chemical smell that filled the air as soon as the plastic emerged from the tube. The fumes were intense enough to cause headaches, dizziness, or irritation, especially in small rooms. Kids also chewed on the straws, forgetting they were coated in chemicals or held the plastic too close to their faces. Despite the hazards, the bubbles were mesmerizing, and many children kept playing with them long after the warning surfaced. And while bubble plastic filled backyards with colorful creations, the next toy launched kids into risky moments of their own. Crash dummy action figures with detachable limbs turned playtime into safety test simulations with cartoon-style humor. Kids launched figures down stairs, into walls, or across carpets just to watch arms and legs fly off in every direction. The figures had smiling faces and cars designed to fall apart on impact. Reassembling everything gave a sense of accomplishment. Then kids did it all over again. The joy came from controlled destruction. Parents tolerated the noise because it kept kids busy for hours. Even though pieces went missing under furniture and cars cracked with repeated crashes, the cycle of building and breaking made these toys unforgettable. And while crash dummies encouraged wild experiments with toy physics, the next toy brought a surprising twist to fishing that did not require a pond or a hook. Toy boxing gloves were advertised as safe fun, but immediately turned into full contact wrestling. Kids strapped them on squared up and started swinging with no restraint. Parents saw furniture shaking, lamps wobbling, and younger siblings fleeing the room. The gloves made kids feel invincible, and hits landed harder than expected. Laughter mixed with shouting and scolding as living rooms became makeshift rings. No one followed rules, and stopping was always someone else's responsibility. Parents hated the roughhousing and inevitable tears, while kids loved the chance to hit without consequences. The gloves encouraged competition and bragging rights, which only escalated things. Eventually, someone got hurt enough for the gloves to disappear, but kids still wanted toys that launched things and tested aim, which brought out something parents feared even more. Stretch Armstrong was the superhero you could literally pull in every direction. You could stretch his arms across the room, twist his legs like a pretzel, or tie him in a knot. And somehow, he always bounced back. Every kid tried to find his breaking point, but that corn syrup-filled body just kept snapping back into shape. It was oddly satisfying and a little bit magical to watch him survive any stretch test you could imagine. Stretch Armstrong was durable, simple, and unforgettable. But if stretching superheroes was not thrilling enough, the next toy put your reflexes to the ultimate test. Magnetic maze boards were simple puzzle toys that used tiny metal balls guided by a magnetic wand. Kids dragged the magnet across the plastic surface, moving the little balls through winding paths. The problem was that the magnets inside many versions were not always securely fastened. If the board cracked or the wand broke open, small magnets could escape. Curious children sometimes swallowed them, not realizing the danger. When two or more magnets connected inside the body, the results could be serious. Even when intact, the boards occasionally split apart during rough play, releasing the tiny metal balls as choking hazards. Despite the risks, the game remained popular because it was quiet, portable, and strangely relaxing. And while magnetic mazes looked harmless at first glance, the next toy brought a much louder kind of trouble. Roll-up, slap flying discs brought outdoor fun to new heights. These flexible discs rolled tightly like bracelets and then snapped into perfect flight discs when thrown. Kids loved watching them sail across yards, playgrounds, and school fields. The material was lightweight, and the design meant no sharp edges, just pure motion. Even though throws were often unpredictable, that was part of the appeal. Kids chased discs through grass, over driveways, and sometimes onto rooftops. The slap feature meant discs could bend and snap into shape again without breaking. Friends tried trick throws, distance challenges, and mid-air catches. The fun lasted all afternoon until someone accidentally threw a disc into a tree, and while slap discs soared through the air, the next toy stuck to glass and walls in the weirdest possible way. Slime kits promised learning and creativity, but delivered stains, panic, and regret. Bright powders, liquids, and instructions that barely made sense combined into goo that kids adored instantly. Stretching, squishing, and poking slime was hypnotic and endlessly entertaining. Parents hated everything about it, especially when it touched carpet furniture or hair. Slime never stayed contained, no matter how careful anyone tried to be. It oozed into cracks, stuck to fabric, and refused to come out. Kids loved the texture, the colors, and the feeling of creating something gross and amazing. Parents saw ruined floors and sticky hands reaching for doorknobs. Every slime session ended with cleanup arguments and missing towels. When slime was finally thrown away, kids did not lose their appetite for annoying toys. They just graduated to ones that were louder, heavier, and powered by batteries. Crossfire was not just a board game. It was a full-on adrenaline rush. 2 players, metal shooters, tiny steel balls, and a target to protect. The commercial said it best. "You'll get caught up in the crossfire." Kids took that challenge seriously, blasting away like they were in an action movie. The clatter of the metal balls hitting the board was pure excitement, and winning felt like you had conquered the Wild West. It was fast, loud, and competitive, the kind of game that ended with both players demanding a rematch. And while Crossfire was all about victory, the next craze on the playground had an entirely different kind of prize, one that you could actually collect, trade, and flip for glory. Moon shoes promised kids the chance to bounce like astronauts, but the reality was far less graceful. These plastic platforms attached to regular shoes with thick rubber bands, lifting kids a few inches off the ground and giving each step a wobbly spring. The idea was fun, but staying balanced was a challenge. Every bounce felt unpredictable, and even small missteps could send kids tumbling to the pavement. Twisted ankles, scraped elbows, and sudden falls were common, especially when kids tried to run or jump higher than they should. The plastic frames also cracked under pressure, turning the shoes into stumbling hazards. Still, many children loved the goofy feeling of bouncing across the driveway, laughing through every near fall. And while moon shoes turned sidewalks into risky launch pads, the next toy turned danger into something sticky and fast. Finger skateboard half-pipe sets brought extreme sports to tabletops in the 1990s. Kids used 2 fingers to control tiny skateboards with working wheels, rolling up ramps, grinding on rails, and landing pretend tricks with dramatic flair. The half-pipe sets came with plastic ramps, stickers, and little accessories that made bedrooms feel like skate parks. Kids practiced flip tricks, spins, and jumps over and over, trying to imitate moves they saw on television. Even though fingerboards sometimes flew off tables and got lost under couches, the challenge of landing a perfect finger ollie kept kids hooked. Friends competed for best tricks or fastest runs down the ramp. Many afternoons vanished in a blur of tiny wheels and plastic rails, and while finger skateboards brought the thrill of skating indoors, the next toy turned glowing pieces into late-night magic that made game night unforgettable. Microscopes were marketed as learning tools, but became gateways to terror. Kids eagerly collected bugs' leaves and mysterious crumbs from around the house to examine up close. Parents did not appreciate spiders on kitchen tables or ants escaping from slides. The microscope invited curiosity without limits, and kids pushed those limits every chance they got. Dead bugs live bugs, and sometimes things that should never have been touched made their way under the lens. Parents worried about hygiene, while kids were thrilled by discovery. The toy lived permanently on tables adults wanted clean, and every session ended with a lecture. Still, kids kept using it because it made the invisible visible, and that power was intoxicating. Once the microscope was confiscated, kids did not stop wanting secret communication and exploration, which made the next toy feel like freedom. Nickelodeon's Gak and Floam turned every kid's hands into a science experiment. Gak was slimy, stretchy, and made those unforgettable fart noises when you squished it into its container. Floam, on the other hand, was a grainy, bumpy goo that could be molded over anything. Toy dinosaurs, pencils, even your brother's sneakers. These toys were colorful chaos, and parents hated how they stuck to everything. But that was part of the charm. The messier, the better. And while Gak and Floam were all about gooey fun, the next toy on our list stretched imagination to a whole new level. Toy metal detectors were an exciting way for kids in the 1980s to explore backyards, beaches, and parks. They buzzed or beeped when something metallic was hidden beneath the ground, turning every search into a miniature treasure hunt. The thrill came from never knowing what might be buried below the dirt. Kids dug enthusiastically, hoping to uncover coins, keys, or mysterious objects from the past. The danger came not from the metal detector itself, but from what it encouraged kids to find. Sharp nails, rusty screws, broken tools, and jagged scraps of metal often appeared in the holes they dug. Many children grabbed their discoveries without hesitation, unaware of the risk of cuts or infections. Some even dug near unsafe areas or deeper than they should have. Even so, the joy of finding hidden objects made toy metal detectors feel magical. And while metal detectors led kids to risky surprises underground, the next toy brought danger through the air with a sharp burst of force. Pocket-size laser maze puzzles fit perfectly into the palm of a hand and delivered small bursts of brain power. Kids pressed buttons to bounce red light beams off tiny mirrors, trying to line up paths that reached hidden targets. The puzzle combined logic, patience, and trial and error. Every click and adjustment felt like operating secret spy gear. Some mazes were simple, while others turned into long challenges that needed multiple attempts. Kids passed puzzles to siblings and friends to test strategy and skill. Even though batteries died quickly and tiny mirrors sometimes slipped out of place, solving one complete maze felt like winning something big. And while pocket laser puzzles brought light and brain teasers together, the next toy delivered a different kind of impact, with dramatic action and towering fun. Skip It was the unofficial test of coordination on every sidewalk. You would hook it around one ankle, spin it fast, and jump in rhythm while the counter ticked away. Kids would challenge each other to see who could hit the highest number, and everyone knew the feeling of tripping mid-spin and scraping a knee. But it did not matter. You just got up and tried again. The clack-clack sound of Skip It hitting the pavement was the soundtrack of 1990s summers. And if that did not get your heart racing, the next toy would, quite literally, yell at you to keep playing. Toy chemistry sets in the 1980s looked exciting, with colorful powders, glass containers, and long stirring sticks. Kids felt like real scientists as they mixed ingredients to create bubbling reactions or small color changes. But many sets included substances that were unsafe when handled without care. Some powders caused skin irritation, while others produced fumes if heated too much. Glass beakers broke easily, leaving sharp edges that could cut fingers. Instructions were often vague, encouraging kids to experiment freely without fully understanding the risks. Parents trusted the educational value, but the potential for burns, spills, and accidental mixing was always present. Even so, playing with chemistry sets sparked curiosity and confidence in young minds. And while chemistry sets brought danger into homemade science labs, the next toy blasted that danger straight into the sky. Water ring toss handheld games at dentist waiting rooms felt like tiny puzzles that could hypnotize any kid. The clear plastic window showed little floating rings waiting to be pushed into perfect positions. Each press of the rubber button sent a stream of bubbles pushing rings toward plastic hooks, and landing just one ring felt rewarding. Waiting rooms turned into tournaments, with kids trying to beat their personal best before their name was called. The water sloshed inside, the rings spun, and every moment demanded patience, timing, and luck. Sometimes a stubborn ring seemed impossible to hook, and that made the game even better. There were no batteries, no screens, and no volume control, just focus and repetition. And while these water toys turned waiting into excitement, the next toy brought wearable creativity and bright neon flair to living rooms everywhere. Pop. Suction dart guns looked safe enough until you noticed where the darts ended up. Soft plastic darts with suction cups flew harmlessly through the air until they stuck to ceilings, windows, and lamps. Kids loved the challenge of aiming higher, farther, and in places they were not supposed to reach. Parents hated looking up and seeing a dozen darts stuck overhead, refusing to fall. Over time, suction weakened, and darts dropped unexpectedly onto heads or dinner tables. Kids laughed, adults sighed. The darts left marks, sometimes residue, and always questions about how to get them down. The guns encouraged indoor play, which only made things worse. Every shot felt like a small victory, and every stuck dart felt permanent. Parents eventually banned them, but kids still wanted hands on experiments that felt scientific, messy, and impossible to clean, which led directly to the next hated obsession. Then there was Bop It, the talking, twisting, shouting toy that could both entertain and completely stress you out. Its commands, bop it, twist it, pull it, came faster and faster until your brain could barely keep up. It was like Simon Says on caffeine, and failing was both hilarious and infuriating. Bop. It was the kind of toy you could play alone or in a room full of friends, where laughter and chaos always followed. And just when you thought you had mastered it, a new version would come out with even more commands. But while Bop It tested your reflexes, the next toy tested your heart, literally. Handheld water rockets were one of the most exciting outdoor toys of the era, using air pressure to launch plastic rockets high into the air. Kids pumped a small handle to build pressure, then released the rocket with a sudden burst of force. When everything worked correctly, the rocket soared impressively, drawing cheers from everyone watching. But if someone leaned too close, or if the rocket shifted direction unexpectedly, it could fly straight toward a face or a window. The pressure mechanism sometimes jammed, causing the rocket to release early and strike hands or heads. The water blast added another layer of surprise, soaking kids who were not prepared. Despite the risks, the thrill of watching the rocket climb into the sky made it impossible to resist. And while handheld rockets shot trouble upward, the next toy brought its own dangers right back down to earth. Electronic fishing rod games that reeled in magnetic fish turned living rooms into fishing holes. Kids held tiny rods with plastic reels and pointed them toward colorful fish that spun on a rotating base. Each fish had a little metal contact on its mouth, and when the rod got close, magnets clicked together with a satisfying snap. Kids shouted when they caught one, then quickly tried for another before the fish rotated out of reach. Siblings competed for biggest catches and fastest grabs. The buzzing motor and bright lights made every round feel exciting. Even though batteries ran out fast and fish sometimes lost their magnets, the thrill of catching something over and over again kept kids glued to the game. And while electronic fishing brought excitement indoors, the next toy took drawing to a strange new level with vibration and surprise. Water rockets were simple plastic tubes powered by air, water, and overconfidence. Kids pumped them again and again, ignoring recommended limits because higher launches were the whole point. the rocket would shake wobble and finally blast off, spraying water everywhere and sometimes coming down at alarming speeds. Parents hated the soaked clothes, muddy yards, and near misses while kids chased that perfect launch. Instructions were treated like suggestions, and safety zones were optional. Someone always pumped too much, and someone always got wet. The thrill came from not knowing what would happen next. Water rockets turned backyards into launch sites, and neighbors into witnesses. When parents finally shut them down, kids looked for physical toys that encouraged even more direct contact and chaos, which made padded gloves seem like a great idea. Tamagotchi brought responsibility into every kid's pocket. These tiny digital pets needed constant care, feeding, cleaning, playing, or they would, well, die. Kids would check their Tamagotchis between classes, during dinner, and even in the middle of the night, terrified of letting them pass away. It was the first digital addiction for an entire generation. There was something strangely emotional about those tiny beeps and pixelated faces, and once you had raised your digital pet, you were hooked on keeping it alive. But if you thought taking care of a virtual creature was intense, just wait until the next toy on the list. One that took interactive fun to a whole new level. Folding toy shovels were designed to mimic real camping tools, complete with metal hinges and collapsible handles. Kids loved digging in sandboxes, dirt piles, and gardens, feeling like explorers uncovering hidden treasures. The danger came from the folding mechanism itself. The hinge could snap shut quickly, pinching fingers or trapping skin between the metal pieces. Some models loosened over time, causing the shovel to collapse unexpectedly during a heavy scoop. When used with enthusiasm, the metal edges scraped knuckles or bruised hands. Even so, kids carried these shovels on backyard adventures, imagining they were archaeologists or treasure hunters. The simple design made the tools appealing, even if they were not entirely safe. And while folding shovels pinched more than a few fingers, the next toy sparked issues when the excitement heated up in a different way. Light-up yo-yos with changing color patterns turned dark bedrooms and backyards into glowing performance stages. Kids practiced tricks like walk the dog or around the world, while tiny lights inside the yo-yo flashed red, green, and blue. The spinning motion created glowing trails that looked like streaks of magic in the air. Friends watched in amazement as colors spun so fast they seemed to blend together. Batteries never lasted long, and sometimes the lights flickered, but the excitement made kids keep playing anyway. Learning tricks took patience and sore knuckles, yet improving skill felt rewarding. Kids showed off yo-yo moves during recess, sleepovers, and talent days at school. The movement and light made this simple toy feel futuristic, like something from a science fiction show. And while light-up yo-yos dazzled with every spin, toy crossbows looked impressive and dangerous, which was exactly why kids wanted them. Hard plastic bolts flew faster and farther than anyone expected. Parents imagined broken windows and injured pets, while kids focused on accuracy and distance. Targets were improvised from cardboard boxes, cans, and whatever else was around. Every shot felt powerful, and every hit felt earned. Adults tried to enforce outdoor-only rules that rarely worked. Bolts went missing and later turned up under couches or behind furniture. Parents hated the risk and the constant warnings, while kids loved the skill involved. When crossbows were taken away, kids did not lose interest in pranks or surprises. They simply turned to toys designed to catch adults off guard. Every 1990s kid remembers that one toy that felt just a little too weird. And that was part of the fun. Creepy crawlers and the Thingmaker oven let you play mad scientist right at your kitchen table. You would pour those colorful goops into metal molds, slide them into the little oven, and wait for your rubbery creations to bake into bugs, worms, and monsters. It smelled a bit like burning plastic and adventure at the same time. Kids would show off their wiggly creations or sneak them into lunchboxes just to get a scream from their friends. It was messy, smelly, and absolutely unforgettable. And while creepy crawlers made you feel like a mini inventor, the next toy made you feel like a backyard astronaut. Remote control car battery packs were a thrill for kids who loved the speed and noise of miniature racing. The cars zoomed across driveways, sidewalks, and carpets, powered by rechargeable battery packs tucked beneath the plastic bodies. The problem was that many of those battery packs overheated during charging or extended play. Kids often touched the cars without realizing the battery compartment was scorching hot. Some chargers lacked automatic shutoff, causing the batteries to swell or leak. On rare occasions, the packs sparked or melted the thin plastic casing. Despite the risks, the excitement of controlling a fast-moving toy kept kids coming back for more. And while remote control cars delivered unexpected heat, the next toy delivered danger through the very frame kids rode on. Electronic hot potato passing games turned living rooms into countdown races with laughter and suspense. Kids sat in circles and tossed a buzzing toy back and forth, never knowing when it would stop and make a loud sound. Whoever held it at that moment was out. The game encouraged quick reflexes, loud yelling, and dramatic dives across couches to avoid losing. Batteries ran low fast, and the toy sometimes buzzed earlier than expected, which made everyone laugh even harder. Kids played round after round, changing speeds and making new rules. This simple toy kept groups entertained for hours during sleepovers and birthday parties. And while hot potato games delivered nervous excitement and loud reactions, the next toy takes childhood competition into slick new territory. Hand buzzers were tiny, harmless-looking pranks that caused endless irritation. Kids hid them in palms, waiting for unsuspecting adults to shake hands. The sudden vibration startled everyone and made kids laugh uncontrollably. Parents hated the trick because it embarrassed them and encouraged more mischief. The buzzers were passed around, shared, and reused until every adult learned not to trust a handshake. Even then, kids found new victims. The prank was simple, repeatable, and impossible to punish without laughing a little. When buzzers were finally confiscated, kids still craved toys that caused surprise and disruption, which led directly into faster, noisier toys that moved on their own. Micro Machines took the concept of toy cars and shrunk it down to genius levels. These miniature vehicles were so small, you could fit a dozen in your hand. But the detail was incredible. From fire trucks to sports cars, every Micro Machine had personality. The commercials, delivered at lightning speed by the world's fastest talker, made them feel like high-octane treasures. You could build entire cities, racetracks, or military bases that fit right on your desk. Every play session felt limitless, despite the size. But while Micro Machines shrank the world, the next toy invited you into worlds hidden in the palm of your hand. Blow-dart target kits promised harmless fun, but they created more hazards than parents expected. These sets usually included a hollow plastic tube and lightweight darts with soft tips. Kids blew through the tube to launch the dart toward a target, hoping to hit the bullseye. The problem was how easily the darts flew farther than intended. A strong breath could send them shooting across a room or backyard at surprising speed. Some children aimed at unsafe targets or tried launching multiple darts at once. Accidental inhaling instead of blowing created another frightening risk, drawing the dart backward rather than forward. Even the soft tips could cause pain or injury if they struck someone at close range. Despite these issues, the dart kits felt exciting and competitive, making them a popular gift. And while blow-dart kits carried clear risks with every puff of air, the next toy brought danger into playrooms through heat and melted plastic. Bead jewelry kits with neon plastic connectors let kids become designers in an instant. Bright colors like electric pink, hot green, and glowing yellow made every creation look bold. Kids snapped beads together to create rings, bracelets, necklaces, and even crowns. The clicking sound when pieces locked together never got old. Friends sat in circles, trading pieces and showing off their newest designs. The best part came from taking everything apart and starting again. Even though beads sometimes rolled under couches or got stuck in vacuum cleaners, the fun never disappeared. Kids used them at birthday parties, sleepovers, and slow afternoons. Pop bead kits turned kitchen tables into fashion studios full of color and imagination. And while jewelry snapped together in endless shapes and styles, the next toy introduced controlled chaos with a crash every kid loved to hear. Walkie-talkies promised adventure and delivered chaos. Kids loved talking across rooms, backyards, and neighborhoods feeling like spies or action heroes. Parents hated the constant chatter, the feedback screeches, and the way conversations echoed through the house. Even worse, the walkie-talkies sometimes picked up neighbors or strangers, which only encouraged kids to listen more. Privacy disappeared instantly. Batteries died quickly and were replaced just as fast because silence was unacceptable. Parents tried setting rules, but kids always found ways around them, whispering, shouting, or leaving them on accidentally overnight. Walkie-talkies made every moment louder and more complicated. When adults finally took them away, kids still wanted noise, just less predictable, which brought out toys that popped, screamed, and refused to stay quiet. Pogs and slammers turned recess into an economy. Kids carried stacks of cardboard discs in their pockets, each one decorated with cool designs. Skulls, flames, cartoons, or even holographic art. The goal? Stack them up, slam them down, and see how many you could flip to keep. The louder the clack of the slammer hitting the pile, the bigger the cheer from the crowd. Trading Pogs was as serious as Wall Street business for kids. You could walk away from recess a champion or lose your favorite designs to the school's Pog King. It was simple, fast, and fiercely competitive. And it set the stage for another obsession that would soon sweep across the 1990s toy world. Slap bracelets swept through schools in the late 1980s with a satisfying snap. Kids straightened the thin band, slapped it onto their wrists, and watched it curl instantly into a snug bracelet. The fun came from the speed and the sharp sound, but inside each bracelet was a thin metal strip that could become exposed as the fabric wore down. Once the edges poked through, the metal could scrape skin, snag clothing, or cut fingers during a quick slap. Many children discovered this the hard way during lunchtime or recess. The bracelets were banned in some schools, but not before becoming a memorable fashion trend that left behind its share of small injuries. And while slap bracelets delivered excitement in a single snap, the next toy filled the air with fumes that were far less innocent. Stretchable jelly window clingers made decorating windows feel exciting and slightly gross. Kids pressed colorful shapes against glass, watching them stick with no tape or glue. The soft, rubbery texture stretched when pulled, and kids loved poking them to feel the squishy surface. Designs ranged from dinosaurs to stars to strange blob monsters. Over time, window clingers collected dust and lint, becoming cloudy and sticky. But kids never cared. They peeled them off slowly, listening to the quiet pulling sound, then slapped them onto another surface. Some clingers even crawled down windows in slow motion, leaving trails kids thought were hilarious. And while window clingers stuck to every smooth surface, the next toy brought fast-paced excitement with a buzzing sound that made everyone jump. Rubber popper toys were small, simple, and impossibly loud. Kids turned them inside out, pressed them down, and waited for the sharp pop that echoed through rooms. Parents flinched every time. The sound was sudden, repetitive, and maddening, especially when kids discovered how fast they could do it. The poppers rolled under furniture, bounced off walls, and startled pets relentlessly. Adults begged kids to stop or take them outside, but the appeal was strongest indoors, where the echo amplified the sound. The toy never broke, which meant it never stopped. Kids loved the reaction they got. Every jump and groan from adults made it worth it. When poppers finally disappeared, kids still wanted toys that felt risky and scientific, which made the next one particularly alarming. Furby was cute until it started talking on its own at 2 in the morning. These furry, blinking creatures were part pet, part robot, and completely unpredictable. They learned words, remembered voices, and sometimes refused to shut up, no matter what you did. Every kid loved them, but every parent secretly wanted to pull the batteries out. They were strange, fascinating, and a little unsettling, like if a gremlin met a parrot that never forgot anything. Still, you could not stop playing with them, and if Furby brought eerie companionship, the next toy proved that sometimes the tiniest things could create the biggest adventures. Snack Time Cabbage Patch Dolls became one of the most talked about toys of the 1980s for a reason few parents expected. These dolls were designed with a mechanical mouth that could eat pretend snacks made of plastic. Kids fed the dolls tiny toy foods, watching the jaw pull each piece inside with surprising force. The problem was that the mechanism did not know the difference between a toy and anything else. Fingers, hair, and even loose clothing were easily grabbed by the moving mouth, and once something was inside, it was almost impossible to pull it back out. Many children ended up frightened or hurt as the doll continued chewing without stopping. What was meant to be a cute feeding feature quickly became a safety concern. The combination of moving parts and no release switch made this toy far more dangerous than it appeared on the shelf. And while the Snack Time doll caused unexpected trouble, the next toy created a different kind of risk, hidden beneath its colorful fabric. Glow-in-the-dark board game tokens made every roll of the dice more exciting when the lights went out. Kids charged the pieces under lamps, shut off the room lights, and watched as small plastic shapes glowed bright green in the dark. Suddenly, a regular board game felt like an adventure in outer space. Pieces glimmered against dark tabletops, and players squinted to see where to move next. The glow made every turn feel dramatic and mysterious. Even though the glow faded and needed to be recharged, kids never minded. Game nights stretched long past bedtime with just enough light to keep playing. Glow-in-the-dark tokens made the ordinary feel extraordinary, and while glowing game pieces transformed quiet nights, the next toy challenged minds with puzzles that looked futuristic and surprisingly frustrating. Clackers were never just a toy. They were a warning sign in plastic form. Two hard acrylic balls on a string looked harmless enough until you started swinging them faster and faster. The goal was to get them clacking above and below your hand in a perfect rhythm, but the real result was noise, loud, sharp, and impossible to ignore. Parents hated the sound because it echoed through the house like something breaking over and over. Kids loved it for the same reason. Every missed swing sent the balls smashing into knuckles, wrists, or forearms, leaving bruises that stung for hours. There was also the constant fear that the plastic would shatter mid-swing, sending shards flying, which only made it more exciting. Adults saw danger and chaos, while kids saw mastery and status. If you could clack without stopping, you were respected. If you failed, you tried again, harder. Once clackers were taken away or mysteriously disappeared, kids moved on to something just as loud, just as messy, and even more annoying to parents. Talkboy recorders were every 1990s kid's dream come true. You could record your voice, slow it down, speed it up, and prank your friends endlessly. All thanks to the magic of this clunky silver gadget made famous by the movie Home Alone 2. Kids would pretend to be secret agents, private detectives, or movie directors, running around the house recording their top-secret missions. The satisfaction of hitting that red record button and playing it back in slow motion made you feel like you were holding real spy tech. It was creativity and chaos packed into one cassette-driven device. But if you thought recording your voice was fun, the next toy let you feel fun in the weirdest, squishiest way possible. Toy cap guns were a thrilling part of playtime in the 1980s, creating loud pops and flashes that made every backyard feel like an action movie. These toys used rolls of tiny paper caps that exploded when the hammer struck them, releasing a burst of sound and a faint smell of smoke. Kids loved pretending to be heroes, villains, or Wild West characters, firing caps in rapid succession as the paper strips dangled from the toy. The problem came from the sparks and heat produced by each explosion. Caps could ignite if stored in pockets, and some children accidentally burned their fingers while reloading. The sudden noise also caused ear ringing when fired too close to someone's face. Despite the risks, the excitement kept these toys in countless toy boxes across America, and while cap guns brought the heat with every pop, the next toy turned danger into something springy and unpredictable. Inflatable punching bag characters gave kids a safe way to burn energy after school. These tall, rounded figures bounced back every time they were punched, kicked, or pushed. Kids loved watching them fall over and spring upright again with a wobble. Characters often came with dramatic faces, superhero designs, or silly cartoon features. The base filled with water or sand kept them steady, and the inflatable body stayed lightweight. Even when hits became intense, nobody got hurt. The bouncing motion created laughter and excitement in playrooms and backyards. Kids challenged themselves to knock the toy down in one hit or keep it bouncing non-stop, and while inflatable punch toys encouraged physical play and loud laughter, the next item added a different kind of sound and personality to every after-school moment. The Easy Bake Oven was every kid's first taste of culinary independence. Using nothing but a light bulb and a tiny metal tray, you could bake real chocolate cakes and sugar cookies that somehow always tasted better than they looked. The smell alone made you feel like a master baker. It was a rite of passage, proof you could make your own dessert without adult supervision. Sure, the portions were microscopic and the frosting looked like paste, but for a 90s kid, that was pure success. And while the Easy Bake Oven gave us sugar highs, the next toy gave us sleepless nights and a little bit of fear. Metal-tipped pogo sticks were designed for energetic outdoor play, letting kids bounce high into the air with each jump. The challenge was part of the fun, but these early models often came with sharp, hard metal tips at the base. On uneven pavement, the tip could slip suddenly, sending the rider crashing to the ground. Falls were common, and the impact often left more than just bruises. Kids attempted tricks, bounced too fast, or tried to jump on rough surfaces without realizing the danger. The heavy metal frame added even more force to each fall. While pogo sticks encouraged balance and coordination, they also led to plenty of sprained wrists, scraped knees, and shaken nerves. And while pogo sticks put kids at risk with every jump, the next toy danger was hidden in something much smaller and far easier to swallow. Sock'em boppers were the ultimate way to settle sibling rivalries without breaking any bones. Well, most of the time. These inflatable boxing gloves turned living rooms into makeshift wrestling arenas, letting kids swing, bounce, and laugh their way through friendly combat. The commercials made it sound perfectly safe, more fun than a pillow fight. But anyone who has ever taken a sock'em bopper to the face knows that was a stretch. Still, it was pure 1990s fun. Harmless chaos, filled with giggles, bruised egos, and that feeling of invincibility only childhood can bring. And when the battle was over, there was always one way to make peace, by sharing something sweet, straight from your very own mini oven. The sticky, stretchy hands were simple toys that provided hours of laughter and accidental chaos. Kids whipped the long, rubbery hand against walls, windows, and furniture, watching it stick and peel away with a soft, slapping sound. The problem came from how fast and hard kids snapped them. A strong flick could sting fingers, scrape skin, or send the hand flying unexpectedly towards someone's face. The material also collected dirt, hair, and dust within minutes, making the toy grimy and irritating to handle. Some versions even tore during play, creating small pieces that younger children could put in their mouths. Despite the downsides, these sticky hands remained popular at birthday parties and arcade prize counters. And while stretchy hands caused stinging surprises, the next toy created hazards in the name of science and discovery. If you grew up in the 1990s, you probably remember strapping on moon shoes and bouncing like gravity had finally given you a break. These little trampoline boots promise to make you jump like you are on the moon, even if, in reality, you looked more like a wobbly kangaroo trying to find balance. Every neighborhood had that one kid who would take a tumble, but no one cared. It was all part of the fun. And when the bouncing stopped, the real competition began with a toy that turned driveways into arenas. Plastic bow and arrow sets were a favorite outdoor toy for many kids in the 1980s. The bows were lightweight, colorful, and easy to pull back, while the arrows often had rubber tips that were meant to soften the impact. But even with those soft ends, the arrows could fly farther and faster than expected. Kids aimed at trees, fences, and toy targets, yet the arrows often veered off course and hit friends, pets, or windows. The flexible plastic bows sometimes snapped under pressure, sending sharp pieces outward. Many children tried to see how far they could shoot, not realizing the arrow could come down unpredictably. Despite the risks, bow and arrow sets remained a backyard favorite because they made kids feel adventurous and skilled. And while these sets sent danger flying through the air, the next toy created a different risk, hiding trouble in something meant to scoop harmless fun. Some memories never fade, even if the toys do. Tell me which one you grew up with. Tap like if it brought back a moment, and stay with us for more stories worth remembering.